Hi, welcome to my channel. This channel is about astronomy. This is the way I made my video. I'm saying like a tea science, coffee science. I always have something here to drink. This is soluble coffee. I want to comment some parts from one video from internet, Brian Cox video. I want to raise some doubt in your mind about some sustainers of the Big Bang, because this channel is against the Big Bang. If I will show to you that they are wrong in some part, maybe you will understand that they are not in like without mistakes. So this is the part where I am going to comment in this video. This 1 minute you will watch and hear what he is saying. Brian Cox.
And they noticed that the equations suggest the universe might be stretching. And so he wrote to Einstein and said, your theory suggests there was a day without a yesterday. Because he thought if everything's expanding now, then it must have been closer together in the past. And so there might be a time when it was all together. And he was a priest.
Wow.
So he's a Belgian priest. So I think, I mean, I wrote about this. Now it's kind of my interpretation of it. But I think that he was more predisposed to accept what the equations were telling him, because a beginning, an origin, for a priest is really a nice thing, because it tells you the creation event.
Yeah.
And Einstein tried to dodge it and put this allowed term into his equation, which is the almost the stretchy term, to say, well, if it's all kind of contracting or something, can I put something in to make it stretch a bit to balance it all out so it can be eternal? So, and you can't make it eternal that way. But he tried it, then he took it out and called it his biggest blunder.
Taking it out was his biggest blunder.
No, he called putting it in his biggest blunder, or at least.
So after you watch and hear that, this is what I want to tell you. You see, maybe you do not realize. You listened, and but you do not know what is wrong in what he says. But let me tell you what is wrong because you see, maybe you trust these guys because you do not know physics, and they are like authority in physics. They are pretending that they know good physics and good astronomy. And I will raise some doubts in your head that you understand that they are wrong. So what it is wrong in what he is saying is that he is saying that we do not knew some galaxies when some theory appeared, okay? So this is what I will comment. You will see in my next section. But now I want to tell you the title. There was a day without yesterday. This is what was the fight in Lemaitre time, that he says that he was a priest.
Suggests that you can see that if the universe is stretching today, then it must have been smaller in the past, right? Everything must have been closer together, let's say that. There's a man actually called Georges Lemaitre who worked independently of Einstein, but at the same time in the early 1920s, before we even knew there were other galaxies beyond the Milky Way.
They did not know if the universe has a beginning or not, okay? So they do not know even that we do not see the universe. What we are seeing, the observable, it is not the observable universe. It's only a small piece from our galaxy that is surrounded by black clouds. So, but being a priest, like everybody was good with him, because he proposed that it is a beginning. A beginning proves somehow that God exists. And but this is wrong, okay? There is a day without yesterday. This is what he is saying, okay? But this is wrong to want to prove that there was a beginning, that to favor God somehow, but to pull all the science down in the hole, okay? So you do not make these mistakes. It was or it is not a beginning, okay? But they were taking the part of the Lemaitre, and he was saying that it is a beginning. And before 1900s, the universe had 300 million years, and then they upgraded 1 billion, 2 billions, 3 billions, 13.7 billions in the present. So you do not make this mistake that to defend the priest or God put in a beginning just to say that it has a beginning, okay?
Independently of Einstein, but at the same time, in the early 1920s, before we even knew there were other galaxies beyond the Milky Way.
So he speaks that before we knew that there were galaxies. So this Charles Messier lived in, you see, 1730, 1817, Charles Messier, and he catalogued. This is the Messier catalog. This from internet. Messier objects, 110 Messiers from his name, Charles Messier, you see. So you say that before we knew that there were galaxies. Look, the Messier catalog includes galaxies, okay? So you can search this. Messier catalog includes galaxies, you see? You see? Look, in A. So before, you do not believe that these guys are speaking crazy stuff?
Independently of Einstein, but at the same time, in the early 1920s, before we even knew there were other galaxies beyond the Milky Way.
Before we knew that there were galaxies, look in the Messier catalog. Andromeda 31, it's a galaxy. Look, in the Messier. Before we knew that there were galaxies, Andromeda in the Messier catalog. Look, Triangulum Galaxy Messier 33. Triangulum Galaxy. So before we knew that there were galaxies, Pinwheel Cluster, there's a galaxy. Look, Messier 36. No, let's see another one. Pinwheel, there is a galaxy known as Pinwheel. Pinwheel Galaxy. Whirlpool Galaxy, Messier 51. Look, before we knew, Einstein lived after 1900s. So these guys died in 18, you see? So we knew galaxies. We knew. But what they were in the head of Messier? Stars. Stars. Charles Messier, you see? He lived. It is clear, yes, that these guys are touched in the head.
Independently of Einstein, but at the same time, in the early 1920s, before we even knew there were other galaxies beyond the Milky Way.
It is clear, yes, that these guys do not know what they are talking about. This is the video I'm commenting from GR Clips, Brian Cox, about dark matter and dark energy. At this minute, you can search. He said, look, before we knew that there were galaxies, listen.
But independently of Einstein, but at the same time, in the early 1920s, before we even knew there were other galaxies beyond the Milky Way.
Beyond the Milky Way.
1920s, before we even knew there were other galaxies beyond the Milky Way.
So, Charles Messier, okay? So, I'm telling you that these guys are speaking wrong stuff. Why do you not believe? So, I prove to you that it is wrong in one part. Can you doubt that it is wrong in other parts also? I'm telling you, Einstein is wrong physics. I will demonstrate. I will show to you. He has two papers. One of 26 pages, one on 25 pages. You'll see. It is wrong science, Einstein. Okay, so again, let me put you again this. Listen. Listen.
Lemaitre, who was
Lemaitre.
This
priest.
There's a man actually called Georges Lemaitre, who was
this Georges Lemaitre priest was who are destroying the thoughts of the scientists, the beginner, with this Big Bang stuff.
There's a man actually called Georges Lemaitre, who worked independently of Einstein, but at the same time, in the early 1920s, before we even knew there were other galaxies beyond the Milky Way. And they noticed that the equations suggest the universe might be stretching. And so he wrote to Einstein and said, your theory suggests there was a day without a yesterday.
So there is a day without an yesterday. It means that we do not have a prior time. So it is not have a beginning. It was arguing. If you do not understand this even, it is a day without yesterday. So you do not understand even English. You are English speaker, language speaker.
And so he wrote to Einstein and said, your theory suggests there was a day without a yesterday.
So there is a day without yesterday. It means that is a present day, that it is like eternal day. It implies that does not have a beginning. It was arguing. So you do not understand even English? You're rather a speaking English speaker?
Suggests that you can see that if the universe is stretching today, then it must have been smaller in the past, right? Everything must have been closer together, let's say that. There's a man actually called Georges Lemaitre who worked independently of Einstein, but at the same time in the early 1920s, before we even knew there were other galaxies beyond the Milky Way.
But I want to tell you that the universe did have a beginning, but you did not see the universe, and the galaxies are stars, simply stars, and this is a 100,000 light years. It is a 100,000 years, and this is a 100,000 years temporal flux, so the galaxy could not be filmed or exist. They are existing literally 100,000 years. So you cannot maintain from a center 100,000 years in orbit stars. So the galaxies are stars, and we cannot see the universe only inside of galaxy. It is a small sphere it is a very small sphere. So I raise a doubt in your mind. I put for you that, and I commented beyond my camera. I filmed his video. You'll search, you'll see that he's saying like this. There was a day without yesterday. It was a beginning, okay? It was, but not they were saying. You cannot see the universe, only a small sphere that it is surrounded by clouds of matter, and galaxies are start putting clouds. So raising a doubt now in your head, you see that he do not knew that we knew galaxies, so you understand that they are mistaken in other parts. So now you will understand. Maybe some other video I will comment, you'll see that Einstein is false physics. This is the way I filming myself, maybe not quite straight. I'm not looking straight in the camera. I'm saying like tea science, coffee science. I always have something to drink. This channel is against the Big Bang and the current view of the astronomy. It's about astronomy. So you watch this short video. We knew galaxies, but they were believing that they are stars. Goodbye. Share, like, and subscribe. Help me. Everybody must know this. Okay. Goodbye.